Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host of the show. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk, Live. Welcome back to tonight's episode. My name is Jay. I am, again, the host of the show tonight. Welcoming back to the studio, the man of the land from down under. He calls Australia home. His name is Evis Love. Welcome back, Ev.
Another big topic tonight, brothers. Looking forward to diving in deep.
There we go. And we have Mr. Jeff Fasano. He calls Nashville, Tennessee home today. Welcome back, Jeff Fasano.
Greetings, everyone. Good to be back.
And of course, we have Josh Richer. He calls Los Angeles home. Welcome back to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Josh Richer.
Let's light it up tonight. Relationships.
Let's be poetic.
Yeah, we're going to be poetic tonight. Well, in any event, as we take a moment here to welcome our viewers and listeners, we'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. We invite you to share out our show on your social media pages, to share with your friends and family. And if you should hear something that you like or love, we invite you to light us up, tap your love button on your monitor, and get us hot, get us ready to send you all to another place tonight. Tonight's episode 130 is all about relationship. Are you relationship ready or still unsteady? And really what this is about is, are you ready to set go or ready to set no? And do you think you are ready for your next relationship? Gentlemen, I have no idea we're going to take this topic tonight. It never goes where we think it will. We always kind of veer off. We turn left, we turn right. Sometimes we go over, sometimes we go under. But we are right here, now. Evis Love, since you're in the top shelf, I'm going to invite you to heat us up, kick us off, and get us lit for tonight's episode. Thank you, listeners, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, my brother. Damn, I think you just opened it up perfectly, Jay. That sounds like a relationship to me. Bit of ups and downs, sides and rights. Look, we're talking about relationships tonight, brothers and sisters, and we're looking forward to diving in deep. And look, when are we ready for that next relationship? You know, have we jumping in and out of relationships? Are we settled? Or have we still got possibly a little bit of work to do on our own journey before we feel we have the opportunity to open up to go into another relationship? Well, we've said it in show after show after show, and obviously with today's pressures within life, you know, whether it's within careers, families, if you're currently in a family, or even health, but all the other social pressures that are currently happening here in the collective, I feel relationships are still being challenged. They're still being twisted. And for me, even just a few red flags to really ask yourself before you even jump into a relationship is to ask yourself, are you feeling lonely before you feel you have to jump into a relationship? Ask yourself, are you attracted to someone physically before you jump into a relationship? And ask yourself if you've really revisited or even identified some of those values that you feel a relationship should be made up of before you even jumping into these relationships. Because for me, my brothers and sisters, many of us, we're rebounding, we're recycling, we're relationshiping, going into these relationships, trying to heal past wounds that may be sitting in the blind spots of our being. And what happens is then we're attracting those same like energies that allow us to either A, work on those particular wounds that we may be carrying still from past, either A, relationships, or most importantly, the relationship with us. So let's dive in deep tonight, my brothers and sisters, because this is a big, topic I don't think can be discussed many times. And we have done relationships show and show and show after again. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to diving in deep.
Damn, Ev, just keep talking, man. I'm just gonna take notes here.
Really?
You brought up like so many
I know.
amazing things.
You had more subtopics than we had that we revealed in our production meeting.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. These relationships, man, like Jay is saying, they're going left, they're right, they're up, they're down. But what do you reckon there, brothers?
I mean,
I'm more confused than when we after our production meeting. No, I'm only kidding.
so many great points, Ev. I mean,
Yeah.
holy cow, there's a lot to unpack there.
Why don't you start right here, right now, Josh?
I'm trying to decide which one to start with.
Start unpacking, Josh.
Right. Holy cow. I mean, are we ready? It's a tough question because I will admit when I was feverishly looking for a relationship in the past few years, I wasn't ready. And it's hard to know if you're ready when you're in it, right? When you're in the muck and in the muddy water, it's really hard to see out of it. So I guess that was kind of something I wanted to ping off you guys tonight was what are the signs that we're not? And how can we identify that maybe we need to drop back in and do some, and I don't want to call it, we actually had a discussion about this the other night about calling this stuff self-work, our own process and calling it work and how that is sort of mislabeling it because it can be a joyful process going through this self-discovery and self-love and all of that. So yeah, I'm curious what the warning signs are for not doing it. And then when do we know it's green lights and we're good to go?
I like that. When do we know there's the green light and it's good to go? I think, and we've touched this on so many shows. I think a telltale sign is we keep on repeating the same relationship over and over again. Just keep on. Get into a relationship and the same thing happens. Get into another relationship, the same thing happens. Get into another relationship, the same thing happens. Eventually, if you want to be conscious and aware of that, or somebody brings that to your attention, that's a telltale sign that there's something happening with the relationship you're having with yourself, and there's wounding that you're recreating and recycling the same relationship over and over again. I had a friend who, and I probably mentioned on this show, who one relationship after other began the same way, the middle was the same, and it ended the same exact way. And it was like, I don't know what's going on. Well, maybe it's time to look at what's going on with all of that, but it's not about that person. It's the person in the mirror.
Yeah, Josh, I liked how you asked, how do we know when we're ready? And it's a great question. And a lot of people kind of reverse it and say, how do we know we're not ready? And really, what I think is a really great tool is I call it checking your vital factors, checking your vitals. Just like when you go to the doctor or the ER, the first thing they do is they check some very specific vitals. Like they check your blood pressure, they check your temperature to make sure that you're not in, let's say, immediate danger of sorts. And if we were to apply the same set of rules in our own life, to me, a vital check would be, how stable are you on a day-to-day basis? Are you showing up for yourself consistently in your mind and in your behaviors and how you speak to yourself? If you find that you're continuously on a roller coaster, or you're going through dips and valleys in your own emotional relationship with yourself, I would say, from my perspective, you're probably not ready to be engaged in a relationship with someone outside of yourself, because if you're struggling with just maintaining your own composure, living with yourself or living in a relationship with yourself, how do you think we're going to be able to show up in a relationship with someone outside of ourselves? And then the question comes down to why? Why are we seeking a relationship with someone when we necessarily are not, let's say, consistent, one of the 5 C's in our own relationship with self? And so are we seeking relationship with somebody else in that moment to be a distraction from our own emotions or feelings?
Sure.
So, I mean, I could tell you guys that, there was a period of my life, there's no way I was ready to be in a relationship. I didn't even know how to be in a relationship with myself.
Mm.
Forget about being in an intimate relationship with somebody else. So from my perspective, I don't think that there's a right time or a wrong time. There's only the time, and only you can determine when you truly are at peace with yourself. And when you are more at peace with yourself than not lacking, let's say, inner peace or serenity or calm, comfort, there's a good chance that maybe there's more work to be done or more time. When I say work, I'm talking about learning how to have a relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm. And it comes down to boundaries, self-love, advocating for yourself, having your own back, and nurturing yourself, nurturing that wounded child when triggers come up and when things come up. And it's like that whole idea of you complete me is total bullshit. It's like, if you're looking for somebody to complete you in a relationship, don't get in one. That's warning sign number 1. But the woman that I've been dating this last year, we had this concept of clean love. And what we mean by clean love is that we are coming into the relationship not out of need or lack, that we're fulfilling all of our needs ourselves and coming together into the relationship as 2 whole, complete beings. And then therefore, when there's no underlying lack, need, or something that's missing that we're trying to get from the other person, which then relates to, all of these unspoken frustrations and needs not being met. And it just gets dirty, messy, and awful at that point. When you come together as 2 wholes, there's just joy and celebration and spending time together and sharing space and sharing stories and sharing life. And that's truly when you have your own back and when you have your own support and you can, nurture your wounded inner child yourself and you don't need somebody else. That's when love is clean. And that's when you can enter into something.
So I am curious, Josh, what makes this relationship that you're in now different than all the others?
For everything I just said.
Okay.
In the past, I was in a relationship out of need for nurturing or support, or it was out of lack. All of them were. Plain and simple.
And so now that you have this awareness, and now that you are, let's say, in this, I believe it's a committed relationship with your new partner, how does the engagement between the 2 of you, how does the energetic exchange, how are you finding, what is if you could describe the end result of coming into this relationship in a more organic, clean way, if I may refer to it that way?
Clean love's amazing. When you come in clean, stating your own boundaries, stating your needs, which is important, and being able to have safe, open communications that don't end in defensiveness or somebody taking something personal or creating a story. There's all these stories we create in the relationship. Oh, so-and-so didn't text me back because they don't care, or this or that, or whatever the stuff is, the stories that we make up in our heads from our wounded child, right? All of that stuff gets in the way and all of that stuff creates mental chatter. So when you come into a relationship clean, the result is all of that chatter goes away. And what it allows space for is joy, laughter. I've experienced more of those two things in this relationship than any other relationship combined. And so there's all these beautiful results of just coming together and celebrating the other person. I celebrate watching her being an amazing person in life. And that brings me so much joy. And that's just pure love. It's just, I'm watching an incredible person be herself in the world and cheering her on as she does me. And that's kind of it. It gets really simple and it gets really fun. And then all that messiness that our mind creates just goes away. And when another part of that is when we're stating our needs, then you don't ever have a question either. So you totally trust the person that if they need something, they'll tell you, and you're doing the same in return. And so you can let go of all those worries and doubts. Oh, are they really going out tonight with me because they want to, or because they feel like they have to? You know, all of that goes away.
So what I just heard you say in this last piece here, it's about trust. You just, I think there's got to be a level of trust. Now, if you're coming out of previous relationships where you have a trust wound, if I may refer to it that way, and we all have them. We've all, if we don't, it's a miracle. Most of us have had some levels of trust broken in some level or some capacity in past relationships. How are you able to come into this relationship, for example, knowing that you had, some, let's call it wounds around trusting the motive or the intention of the person that you're dating? How do we navigate through the trust wound and not carry it into this new relationship that perhaps we have no idea what's going to unfold?
Creating Oh, go, Ev.
No, I was just going to say, brother, you have to trust yourself. If you can't go into a relationship, you've been wounded in the past, and you're simply attracting some sort of betrayal again, you're simply not trusting yourself. So you have to do a lot of building of that inner self before we jump in and out of these relationships. And just dovetail on what you're saying too, my brother, stating your wants, needs, and desires so important, but no one can fulfill your own needs, wants, and desires except you.
Say that again, please.
Stating your wants, needs, and desires is important going into a relationship, but no one can fulfill them like you. So until we can fulfill our own wants, needs, and desires, we have no business going into a relationship, brothers and sisters. This goes back to emotional intelligence. You listen to all those beautiful words the brother is saying. He's returning back to love, but it's talking about a lot of these feelings and emotions that he's getting from someone that's complementing the relationship, not complicating it.
There you go. Love that, Ev. Wow.
Yeah, man.
So Deb's, we're going to take a moment here to let our viewers let that drop in what Ev just said. And while we're doing that, I'm going to read a question from Deb coming in from our sister country up in Canada, just north of the U.S. And welcome viewers from no matter where you call home. Let us know if you're dropping in from whatever state, city, country, overseas, underseas. Let us know where you reside, where you call home today. Now, for us, home is in the heart. So it doesn't really matter what city, state, or country you reside in today. But having said that, Deb says, what suggestions would you give for a new relationship? And congratulations, Deb, because I know you're in a new relationship, and that's why you're asking this deep question tonight. She says, in regards to keeping the communication line open, who wants to jump on this question and give it a good shot?
Keep it open.
Simple, not easy. Simple, not easy.
I mean, just keep it open. Communicate and communicate that it's important to keep it open. You know, it's all about.
well, what if you're in a relationship? You're in a new relationship, and your partner is showing up somewhat guarded because of their past history.
If you detect that, ask them why.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think
it's.
adding.
I mean, it's like we're adults.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I
know,
wasn't
I
for
mean,
a
if
very
we're
long time.
if we're in the here and now, we're adults. What Ev said about trust wounding, I really don't know what that is. But if you're on your inner journey and you realize that you have trust issues, well, there's wounding around that. So go in and navigate that wounding with the wounded child or whatever you have to do to navigate that wounding. So when you go into the relationship, you're just cognizant and aware of I have this wounding and I'm getting into this relationship. It goes back to what Josh said. You know, communicate. You know, one of the needs I have is it's important for me that communication is open and free, and let me know if you have an issue with that, anything is surrounding that, and you do it with loving communication and just talk about it. It's like going into any new relationship. It's like, what are your needs? I know what Ev said about you cannot another cannot fulfill your own needs, but there are needs within a relationship. One of the needs are it's really important for me that the communication is open, transparent, authentic, and truthful.
Yep.
That's a need within a relationship. It's not a personal, it's a personal need, but it's when you're creating a new relationship, it's two individuals coming together to form something that is totally unknown. And each person comes into that relationship with their needs, their boundaries, what's important for them in a relationship. You're then bringing your individuality, your uniqueness into the relationship that are the ingredients in the relationship. But in a relationship, I can tell you what I need is open, honest, authentic, transparent communication. How do you feel about that?
Okay. Ev, I'm
And
going to invite. I'm going to go ahead,
another.
Josh. Go ahead, Josh.
I got another dovetail on that too. You know, it's something really cool happens when you ask your partner. You know, hey, and Deb, what this does is create a safe place. This creates that trust is to ask. I know you're having a really hard week, a busy week at work, whatever. What do you need from me? And that's a beautiful question to be asked if you've never been asked that before. And a lot of us guys haven't. And so it feels really good and it feels safe. And that allows us to start expressing our emotions, expressing and to check in. I think often too, guys, we get so caught in the grind that we don't check in and go, what do I need this week? You know, how should I support myself and or ask a partner to support me during this busy time or whatever? So, you know, I think creating that safe space to have conversations like this is really important.
Well, hey, Josh, I'm just going to take a moment here. I want to just acknowledge something that just really just hit me is that it may sound controversial. Some women may not like what I'm about to say. And it really isn't just about, it's really about men and women. But if our new partner or our partner is showing up in a very outspoken way where we feel many times the other individual feels intimidated by them, if they are very strong in their spoken language as well as their unspoken language, it just can be a look, it could be a stare, it could be a glare. And what happens is that inner child, male or female, gets activated. And what do? We retreat. We retreat as though we've done something wrong. So it's not just how we show up, but it's also how is our partner showing up in that relationship? Are they showing up repeating the behaviors that perhaps one of their parents was their role model in how to be relational? Are they just repeating those same patterns and they're creating that, I'll call that storm within a relationship? I want to acknowledge Deb. Thank you so much for that's just an observation I have. I witness it every day with friends. I witness it with clients. I witness it with just people that I just happenstance meet out in the neighborhood, even on the trails. I want to acknowledge Deb. She clarified a few things here, and I want to thank you for showing vulnerability and honesty in this moment, right here, right now, live on Real Men, Real Talk. She says it's difficult for me to communicate based on being in a very abusive relationship prior to this one. I have a very difficult time knowing what is a need. I had to pick my battles, so to speak. I'm going to close this out for Deb. So therefore, she's kind of in it, but she's kind of in it like she's dipping her toe in the water, but she hasn't dived in fully because she's fearful of the repercussions that can occur. Ev, you want to kind of respond or acknowledge what, from your perspective, any insights or suggestions for Deb? Thank you for sharing that, Deb. We love you and welcome back. We've missed you, girl.
Yeah, sister. No, it's beautiful. And you know, like you hit on the head, Jeff. You know, for me, communication is key. It's definitely one of those values that we all should be sitting down before we even jump into a relationship and identify. You know, along with respect, trust, commitment. You know, are you committed to your own showing up in this new relationship that you may be getting up to build these stronger connections? Because if you're in that situation, sister, and what's going to build a stronger connection with you and that beloved is that particular person that may be coming into the relationship that creates this safe space for you to allow you to feel vulnerable in being able to open up and be able to listen to you. And this active listening, not just any communication, brothers and sisters, remember that. Active listening. Actually showing that you've listened and being able to process the information and give some sort of feedback, as opposed to just passively sitting through some of these conversations and then, you know, not really coming up with something to feed back to that other beloved or person within your life that you haven't really been listening strongly. So for me, being able to create that safe space allows you to be vulnerable in this particular relationship, which will allow you to express your emotions that are coming from some of those past traumas or abusive situations that you may be going through. So this goes back to deep sacral chakra work, where as those younger years, how we started to feel our way into the world, we start to identify and feel for our self-awareness through the relationships around us, how we feel about those relationships, not how they make us feel. There's a subtle difference there. So when we're able to start expressing some of those emotions from those sacral waters, then actually we're starting to come up into those solar plexus. And that's where that passion, that fire starts to burn for you allowed to come up back into that place of love from heart. Otherwise, brothers and sisters, so many of us are going into these relationships from a headspace. And we're wondering why we're getting ourselves into these messes. We're not feeling through it. We're trying to think our way through. So we block ourselves. And then what happens? We're unable, the bridge between up here and here is the throat. So we can't express ourselves clearly. So that other one is very, a big value for me as well, is to speak open communication with clarity.
Beautiful, Elf. Beautiful. And I want to say too that it's interesting when you do get into a relationship where you start to feel safe. What happens is like deeper layers that have never been expressed before start to come up, right? Because you have this trust, you have, you know, this open communication. And so things that come up are awkward and scary, and you've never expressed them to maybe another person or even said it out loud before. And it can be terrifying. especially if you're looking across at somebody that you love and you're afraid that might make them leave. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard work, but that trust and that safety will allow a safe place for these things to come up and be discussed between the two of you. Because a lot of us dudes have stuff that we've never expressed either, and it comes out awkward and it comes out weird. It's hard for me to say stuff at first when I haven't ever put it into the air before. So what happens when a person
You could do.
I'll read the question. Abigail Engel, welcome back, Abigail. So nice to have you join Real Men Real Talk Live this evening. We love you, and we love when you show up because you always ask great questions and you're present, which is really what relationships is about. She asked tonight, what happens when a person outgrows a relationship? I know many that are experiencing this. Who wants to respond on this one?
I've outgrown the relationship I'm having with myself.
Tell us more. Tell us more. What is that mean?
I mean, that's true, but that doesn't answer her question.
Wait a minute. Was that wit or sarcasm?
It was poetic. I was being poetic. Jay.
There we go.
That was a form of poetry. Well, yeah, I have. I've outgrown the relationship that I've been having with myself for years in the last 3.5 months, because I've been dealing with a lot of the wounding and then realized the relationship that I was having was based upon that wounding. So as I've gone deeper inside of me and come to terms with that wounding and growing, I've grown more into the adult space where I've outgrown the old relationship that I was having with myself. Meaning that a certain part of that wounded child was running my life. And as we move through those wounds and we start to heal them, deal with them, have tools that help you identify them more, realize that those are old habits, patterns, and rituals that we know so well, we can start to shift that. And then we outgrow that old relationship that we've had with ourselves. And we're like, and that's when we turn around and say, wow.
Yeah.
That's growth. That's growing. But I don't know if that answers Abigail's
well,
question.
I think you did a really nice job of that, but Abigail also closed the loop on her own question. She says, we can be stuck in negative cycles. Why? Because others in the situation are not ready or willing to grow up because they are hanging on to the chaos that they thrive on, the chaos that is all they know. Even on a subconscious level, they're living in it and they can't see it. We got to know when to hold them. We got to know when to fold them and know when to walk away and know when to run. Woo! There you go.
Yeah, but always remember that in this part of her statement, they're in a situation are not ready or willing to grow. That is a projection. That is a projection.
What do you mean by that?
That's saying that person is not ready or willing to grow, as opposed to that person is where they are in their soul plan in their life.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But
it's a play on words, but I think we understand what she's saying. We've all been there.
But we've got to be. I think we really have to be careful of pointing the finger at saying you're not this, you're not that. You are just where you are, and where you are in this relationship, I'm where I am, and that is not resonating for me any longer. You just everybody is exactly where they are on their path. It gives it's a form of a wound within us that's got to point our finger at another person saying, you're not ready to grow, you're not willing to do this, so then I'm leaving.
Well, that may be true, but I'm gonna share a different side of the same statement that she shared. And that's a valid, very valid point, Jeff. And I want to acknowledge you for that because I think it's spot on. But there's another side. And the other side is that, let's play hypothetically. Let's say that I'm in a relationship with Evis. Okay. And
Whew.
I have
Oh,
embraced,
you are.
right? We are all four
Yeah.
of us, man. We're real, and we're here right now. We're in a relationship. But part of the life that I embrace today is always showing up as a conscious observer of myself and of everyone and anyone that I meet in a moment and I have a conversation with. Now, at some point in this relationship that is evolving, let's say with Evis and I start to observe, I start to see some, what I'm going to call disparities or um, a cracks in a foundation. Now, it may sound like I'm being judgmental, but I'm not. I'm just observing what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. And in that moment, I can ignore it. I can deny it if it's bothering me, or if I'm seeing it as a behavior that is not healthy for me or healthy for the relationship. Then it's my choice to either stay in it. It's my choice to acknowledge it and address it with him, or it's my choice to weed the garden.
There you
And
go.
what I mean by that is that, look, we're not just talking here about an intimate relationship between, let's say, a couple. We could even be talking about a relationship between friends, between relatives.
Yep.
And I think part of being a part of living a healthier lifestyle today, one where you're being true to yourself because you have gotten in touch with who you are and you are honoring your heart and soul. Part of that responsibility and obligation is to understand that there are going to be people that they're going to either outgrow us or we are going to outgrow them.
Mhm.
Now, what that means is then we have a choice. Do we stay engaged in that relationship? Do we take the foot off the pedal? Do we kind of back up a little bit, slow it down? Or do we exit out stage left, as I say, or as they say in Hollywood?
Mhm.
Or
And
on Bugs Bunny.
that is a choice. And hopefully it's not about judgment. It's about observation. And then asking that question, is it good for me? And
There
when
you go.
you have a clear answer, and the answer is, heck no, this is not good for me. This is not the entanglement or the attachment that's healthy for me and how I want to be relational with an individual, then it's a choice. So yeah, it just depends
Yeah.
on where you're at. And if you are pointing a finger and you're pointing out all of the, all the things that aren't right, is it that could be coming from judgment. But if you're assessing a relationship, checking the vitals more from the soul level, your soul level, you may have a different
And,
relationship with it.
and you can actually even continue in that depth and openness, and you can even say, hey, look, I've noticed a pattern. I'm curious where this came from. Was this something that happened in past relationships? You can get curious together around something, and it can become a healing process. It can become an awareness that maybe they weren't even aware was happening, or a pattern that was running, and it could become a lesson, and it could become something that's achievable. Whereas if we just ignore it and or bolt at the first sign of a potential red flag or whatever, you may never know that you could have worked through it too. I think a lot of us don't even know that we can bring stuff like that up when you have safe communication.
Mhm.
Now, Ev, you've been nodding your head for a while now. What's going on inside that cracky
No.
jacket of yours?
No, it's beautiful. I agree totally with what you guys both saying. And Jay, you basically, talked about my whole last relationship right there. It was, coming up a couple of times that, there was a certain issue between the relationship to the beloved and I. And I simply said to her, like, what do you need from me to help this grow and help this connection keep growing? What do you need from me? What can I do in this space? Do I have to give you space? And so I gave the person their time and their space. They came back, but they still hadn't done the work. So then that was up to me to make the choice. Did I want to keep going through, like you're saying, from a higher self or soul level? Or did I want to have to go in a different direction? And so that's the way it had to be, because I was strong within my values. I was strong within my wants, needs, and desires. And I knew how to fulfill my own cup. Like I said, you don't need anyone else to try and fulfill your own cup. You get them to complement it. So what had happened then, basically, we went our separate ways. But, this is what happens in relationships. And that's why I think going forward into this new way of living, and why these relationships are still being challenged so much, is because we've got to understand the nature of a human being, brothers and sisters. Now, when I say this word, I don't want you to think, it's about going out there, being with this person and being with that person, but understand the fluid nature of a human being. What does it mean to you, that word fluid? That fluid nature of someone to be able to flow through their life with your full acceptance and your full trust within that person. You see, some of these words we're talking about tonight, brothers and sisters, it talks about unconditional love. How could you possibly love someone within the frame of mind that they may not love you back? So this is where it gets deep, brothers and sisters. So as we go into this new earth, we're talking about partnerships. You're a part of a connection, not a traumatic, wounded attachment-based relationship.
And I had a conversation with a woman last Saturday night about just this. Exactly this was the new way to look at relationships or partnerships, as opposed to, oh, I'm so in love with this person. And you've all heard me on 130 shows talk about that in love romantic thing. But I had this conversation with somebody last weekend about relationships. And she was like, what are the terms? I said, I think it's time to begin to look at relationships as partnerships. I mean, that's how I look at it, as opposed to other old belief systems. It's about creating something new, which is what we're doing. We're creating or remembering a new us as we're going through our inner journey. So we're creating a new relationship with ourselves all the time. And as we do that, we're creating something new. And this is the conversation I had with this woman last week. And I said, what about looking at it as a partnership?
Beautiful.
You're in partnership with someone else that dispels maybe all of the old belief systems of what a relationship should be, could be, and all that good stuff. You're entering into a partnership with someone that's on a different level.
Beautiful,
Okay.
Jeff.
I want to share something that Abigail, this is a add-on. She said, I struggled with walking away because it is making a judgment about someone else. And I'm not comfortable with that. I stayed for a long time because I didn't want to limit them with my judgments of them. This is in line with what you had shared, Jeff. She said, I had to learn to trust my own judgments. Is it judgments or is it intuition? That's my question back to you, Abigail. Is it really judgments or is it just intuition that you're tapping into by paying attention to their behavior? She goes on to say, I was holding myself back, trying to save him when he didn't want to be saved. He didn't even see his role in this situation. I'm sharing
Right.
this absolutely beautiful, vulnerable, honest, truthful observation of her life experience, and I'm sharing it because there are so many. This is not just your story, Abigail. This is millions and millions of women and possibly men that are in this quagmire. Ev, what do you make of this one here?
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, sister. Thank you for sharing. And, you know, like, I think what we're really looking at a deeper level there too, you know, like if you're trying to save a male out there, sisters, you know, you're really, in a respectful term, emasculating him, you know, particularly as a man, you know, on this planet at the moment. It's hard. It's hard out there for many brothers, sisters. You know, like, I help a lot of brothers, and they're going through a lot of stuff in regards to, you know, being demasculated within their life, not being able to see their kids in years, you know, very limited resources when it comes to paying off child support, etc. So if you start to go and try and save this brother, you're even demasculating him even more. So this is when I come from another angle and I say to the brothers then, okay, brothers, how are you building your purpose in life? What is your mission in life? You know, this just goes back to evolution as a man on this planet. So what we're really starting to witness, brothers and sisters, this is the journey back home. We don't have to look outside of ourselves. This is the beautiful walk and reunion of the masculine and feminine energies coming together as the one. So all you're seeing is really the reflection playing out on these other people that are coming into your life. So we don't have to look too far, like we said at the start of the show. We just have to look in the mirror.
Yep. And it's real.
You know, every relationship that we have is simply a reflection of the relationship we're having ourselves, where we are in our personal process and our soul plan.
It's just a mirror.
It's just a mirror, every relationship. So my question to Abigail would be, in that relationship, where's the mirror? Because if we're in it, it's really just a reflection of the relationship we're having with ourselves. It is. And I've learned that in many difficult ways.
Me too, Jeff. Me too.
I want to take a moment here. I want to kind of go back down memory lane and share a very personal experience in my life. When I met my partner, Mary, I was literally at my rock bottom in all aspects of my life. Ironically, it appeared to be a perfect match because she was at her own rock bottom. The reason I can't speak for her, I will speak for myself, but the reason it worked for me was because early on we established an engagement of an agreement. You can call it the agreement of the partnership, Jeff.
Beautiful.
And some things that unfolded almost immediately for me as a partner, which was exactly what this man here needed. One, we both agreed that the fight was over. I had no more fight left in me. I said, I'm removing the boxing gloves that I've been wearing for probably all of my life to defend myself, not even really sure what the hell I was defending because I didn't know who I was. I'd lost myself. You've heard me say that many times. As a man, as a husband, as a father, as a son, as a sibling, as a friend, as an employer, and as an employee. I had lost myself. But I wanted the boxing gloves off because I said, I have no fight left. I don't have the energy. There's nothing to fight for anymore. I just want to live in peace. And she said to me, I want the exact same thing. The second thing for me was that she showed up as an incredible active listener. I had a lot to offload, to unload, to unpack, to release. And she said to me a few years later, she says, I don't know how I even showed up that way because I never showed up that way before in my life. But because she created the safe space for me, probably for the first time in my life, I was able to open up and share the darkest, deepest truths in my life, not about other people, but about me. This is my healing journey. And I did it alongside somebody that was desperately seeking the same things in life that I was. The other component to this, why this relationship has worked for 7 years, is because we were both committed to our own process of healing. We invested in ourselves and we invested in a relationship. We did much work together, but we did a lot of work independent of each other. And then we would come together and we would share. And then we would shed a tear or two. At least I would. And through that process, there was so much healing that took place around trust. And thank you, Av. And it provided me the greatest gift in my life. And the gift that I received was finally feeling safe to be the authentic, vulnerable, loving man that I am. And if I hadn't had that commitment and agreement with my partner, I wouldn't be here today. I probably wouldn't even be alive. And I'm not saying it's because she saved my life. It's because that's what I needed at that time to purge my pain, to purge my hurt, to purge whatever guilt and shame I was holding on to and blame of other people for my misery. But at the end of the day, the reason it worked was because we both showed up and we were both willing to grow up in this relationship and stop acting like children, adult children. And we've never vacillated. We've never left. That agreement is still there. To this day, I have not raised my voice once. To this day, she has not raised her voice once. To this day, I have not disrespected or dishonored her. To this day, she has not disrespected or dishonored me. We did enough of that. We felt enough of that. And today, I believe our relationship is strong because we continue to meet each other, to greet each other, to see each other, to understand each other. We may not always agree with each other. We don't need to. But we understand each other. And that is the foundation, in my humble opinion, of what a healthy relationship can look like. Without that, we're just adult children seeking something from somebody else to fill us up. And that's not her responsibility. It never was. And it's not my responsibility to give that to her as well. It's our responsibility to give it to ourselves and then come together and connect without the attachment. What do you make of that, Josh Richer?
Finish finish the show, bro.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
man. It's all you, Jay. Close us out, brother. That was
Really?
beautiful.
Absolutely
Congrats.
beautiful.
Congrats to both
Yeah.
of you.
Heart is wide open, brother.
It's simple, not easy. You've heard me say that, Richard. It's simple. It's not easy because we bring our past traumas and pain with us, and we're still in the fight. We're still defending. We're still, sometimes creating a left hook. We're still looking for that. And when we show up and we call it a draw in boxing, there's no winner, there's no loser. It's neutral. We don't have to have a winner and a loser in a relationship anymore. We just have to surrender. We be willing to surrender and then help each other purge. Help each other purge out the pain so that we can heal mind, body, and soul. It's
So
simple.
I have a question
Yeah.
for you, Jay.
Go ahead. I may answer.
So this goes back to our production meeting. This goes back to the beginning of the show, because the question is, how do you know when you're ready for a relationship? Because this is a very important question. You met Mary when you were both at rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how did you know that you were ready for a relationship when you were both at rock bottom? Because
That's a beautiful question. That's a beautiful question because it's contrary to most of what we talked about tonight.
I was just about to say most of what we were talking about tonight
just gets thrown out the window.
Would have said, "Don't do it."
When Josh earlier in the show was talking about an incredibly adult, evolved way, and of course, we get to that place because we've experienced so much along the way that has been done and gone through the inner work or the inner journey, and we've come to this cumulative point where, wait a second, I now know what my needs are in a relationship, and I know how to communicate, and I know it's important to me. And this is a very evolved adult approach to relationships that all four of us have been talking about tonight. And then what Jay just expressed was that he was at rock bottom and Mary was at rock bottom, which exactly is my question is then if you're at rock bottom, how do you know you're ready for a relationship based upon what we shared all night long?
Right. Well, I'm going to first put on here what Katrina May, coming in from Vancouver area of Canada, our sister country. We love you, Katrina. Welcome back. She nailed it. She said, sounds like you both joined each other at a moment of surrender. That's a very good starting point. And I want to piggyback that. That's absolutely, when I said to Mary, I'm removing my boxing gloves, I've got no more fight left in me, that was my surrender statement to her. But the second part of it was that I knew intuitively. Now, this is a guy that didn't know how to tap into anything within or anything above other than what came through my mind, right? But in that moment, I had an absolute knowing, an intuitive knowing that God put her in my life. If you guys recall, if we rewind, when you met me, I used to refer to Mary as an angel, my angel. Now, I don't own her. When I say my angel, it was the angel that was put in my life. And that angel came down from God. I truly believe that. It wasn't on my time. I wasn't seeking it. It was on God's time. So again, it's a little contrary to a lot what we're talking about here tonight, but it does still come back to the main foundation of a healthier relationship for all of us, which is that you've got to do some vetting on a potential partner. the vetting part of that is ask them, where are they at in their journey? Where are they at in their own process? Have they done any inner work?
Well,
Are they
Jay,
interested? Go ahead, Josh.
and I think sorry to jump in here, but I think you guys are outliers. I think meeting at bottom and growing out of that together is an outlier relationship. That's not common. But
Correct.
I think what was beautiful in your process and key to you staying together in this process was at that bottom, you both committed to yourselves.
Boom.
And you grew in parallel from that place up.
There you go.
And that has been the key to your success because you committed to yourselves.
Right. And that's, you got it, you nailed it, and that's beautiful. And I'm here to tell you it can work, but it will only work if you are both 100% committed to your own process, not of healing a couple's relationship, because it was new. It was about healing our inner relationship with self. And then coming together as a couple for both of us to learn how to experience something neither one of us have ever had in our life. Ev, I'm going to invite you to wrap us up tonight. Close us out.
Be
Put
poetic.
a pretty bow on the show and call it a wrap.
Pretty bow on the show. I'll do a quick one, my brothers and sisters, but that was absolutely beautiful, Joe. I believe we should be closing the show there, but you know, you've hit it right on the head, and you know, this is a beautiful, full acceptance of that other beloved that may come into our life, and hopefully we're not out there chasing, but we're attracting. See, we're talking about aligning to that completion of yourself and celebrating the differences of each other. So we're not trying to change anyone within a relationship, brothers and sisters, but celebrate those differences and those unique qualities that we all have as individuals. You see, this beautiful journey back home to heart space is the full acceptance of who we are as a human being. So when we've been able to do that inner work, that deep inner journey work that we always talk about, show after show after show, we're able to start attracting these energies into our lives for growth, for expansion. You see, we've gone out of the old school paradigm, brothers and sisters, of control and separation within relationships. When we talk about this partnership that we're talking about, like Jay and our beautiful beloved Mary, we're talking about that beautiful expansion and growth. They came together, they still had their stuff. They still had their stuff to work on, but it was a mutual agreement that allows the connection of this beautiful partnership to keep going forward. Our true unconditional love, my brothers and sisters, is that when we can look in the eyes of someone else and truly see the reflection of ourselves, that is when you've found and you're ready for love.
You guys, I don't know about you, but I got chills right now. Anyone feeling a chill in the air, or is it just me?
It's beautiful, Ev. Always, all you guys, beautiful share, Jay, Jeff, as always. I mean, the insights and the collective here just tonight about relationships in general was beautiful. I love sharing space with you guys.
Well, hey, Richard, you make it easy, brother. You do make it easy.
Well, I love you guys. These four men here, honestly, thank you. Thank you for changing my life and showing me depths of connection and communication with other men that I didn't know was possible, and that relationship with men that I could have. And these three beautiful faces that I see right here and that I get to share every week with has given me so much joy and so much depth and love in myself through this connection and the lessons and our parallels in life as we share and grow and experience it together with you guys. So thank you guys.
Jeff, well, we're not going to leave you out because we don't want you to leave here with that little boy feeling like, what about me? So I'm
Well,
inviting you.
actually, after what Ed said, I was like at Q Bad Company in the song "Ready for Love." That would have been a perfect. We're always ready. You're always ready for something. If you're looking at it, if I'm ready to move, you meet somebody, I'm ready to move into this relationship. Well, you're ready for it, for whatever it's going to present to you in your soul plan. And you move towards it and you grow from it. It's any relationship that we are in with someone else, a friendship, a romantic relationship, which I haven't had in a long time. You're always ready. You're always ready to take the next step on your soul path, if that's the way you look at it. Anything that comes along our way in relationship with another, and we decide and make a conscious choice to enter into that, and we're going into it with our heart open and our eyes open to the best of our ability of where we are on that soul path in our process, then we're ready for what we need to learn and grow into more of ourselves on our path all the time.
Beautiful. 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 I want to take a moment here to thank my brothers and my closest friends in the world right here, right now. Evis, Jeff, and Josh. Thank you so much for showing up right on time tonight and in my life, bringing so much joy, so much wisdom, so much trust, so much love between brothers right here, right now on Real Men, Real Talk Live. Viewers, if you heard something that you like to love, we do encourage you. We do invite you to share it out in your social media feed. Share it with your friends and family, maybe someone you care about, someone you love deeply that may hear what they need to hear. And maybe you could influence positive change in their life. That's why we do the show. We do the show to share words of lessons learned, wisdom, and inspiration and hope that potentially you can heal your perspective with us one day at a time. And with that, I love you guys. Thank you for joining us this evening on Real Men, Real Talk Live.